Can we please have roll call?
Yes, you may. Councilmember Shacker.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Councilmember Phillips.
Here.
Councilmember McCafferty.
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Vice Mayor Granillo.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here.
And we have Andrew present remotely.
He better be.
Can we
please have roll call? All right, item 2A, updates and
Councilmember
discussion
Shacker.
from Michael Patrick
Councilmember
from
Perkins.
Here.
Trust for
Councilmember
Public Lands
Phillips.
regarding Del Rio Springs.
Councilmember McCafferty.
Mrs. Town Manager.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Thank you,
Vice
Mayor,
Mayor
council
Granillo.
members. Tonight we have Michael Patrick with the Trust for
And we
Public
have
Lands, who's
Andrew
going to be
present,
talking to
remotely.
us about a very exciting project that he has
All
really
right,
been
item 2A,
spearheading.
updates
and,
discussion from
it-
Michael Patrick
What's all that
from
talking?
Trust for Public Lands regarding Del Rio Springs.
Sorry, we have a little technical difficulty here.
We're good now?
Got it? Okay.
All right.
And so the project has been moving along. He's been meeting with a lot of agencies, including people from town staff, and he would like to give an update and bring council up to speed. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Patrick.
Town of Chino Valley starts right on time, don't they?
We try to.
Well, good to join you all. I'm in Tucson this evening. So thanks for the invitation to present to you. And I'm joined by Jody Norris from the Nature Conservancy, who's joining from Flagstaff. And hopefully Maggie Tiedeback and Mark Holmes are there as well. So we've been working since last summer on a project to protect a portion of the Del Rio Springs Ranch property.
Hey, just 1 second, please, sir. Is there any way to make this louder? I was having a hard time hearing it. Were y'all? Or just me? If you had a little bit, I had a lot of it. Okay, try again.
So
That's way
is that
better.
clear,
Yeah.
Mayor? Okay. So we've been working since last summer on a project to protect a portion of the Del Rio Springs Ranch. Hopefully you all are somewhat familiar with the project. And we're reaching an interesting stage in that project. With the help of the Nature Conservancy, the Trust for Public Land has hired a lobbying firm, Russell Smolden, and his small but mighty team to help us secure some funding to acquire the property. I'll show you a map of it in a minute. And in fact, Senator Kinney Kerr, Cindy Kerr, the chairwoman of the Senate Committee on Natural Resources, Environment and Water, has introduced a bill a couple of weeks ago, and we will be presenting to that committee on Thursday with a short presentation and then answering questions from the committee members. And so what we thought we'd do to start this, and we haven't practiced this presentation yet, but it's going to be a shared presentation. I'm going to lead off, and then Maggie Tiedeback and Jody Norris and Mark Holmes all have a portion of it. So we're going to practice it with you, and then at the end of it, we can kind of loop back and maybe add a little more details to what we've said, and also see what questions you all have. Does that sound good?
Yes?
Great. So now I'm going to try to share the presentation.
Kick it. That always works for me.
I think I did kick it. That's why it's not working. Okay. Okay, can you see that now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, I don't know if you heard the introduction, but I did want to acknowledge that Jody Norris, who's the Director of Land and Water Protection for the Nature Conservancy, is joining us here this evening, and she's also going to be in Phoenix with Maggie and Mark and I on Thursday to discuss this with the committee. So the title of Senator Kerr's bill was an appropriation to create a new state park on the headwaters of the Verde River. So that should give you an inkling of what's to come. Let's see. And so first of all, just as a locator map, especially for the committee members, not necessarily for you folks, but what we're working on is a portion, and specifically the portion of Del Rio Springs Ranch that lies on the east side of Highway 89. You all know the landscape as well as anybody, but of course we're in an area that's very close to the Prescott National Forest and the Game and Fish Upper Verde River Wildlife Area. And in fact, the northern part of the property contains Sullivan Lake, which is considered by many to be mile zero of the river. So an important point to make to the committee on Thursday is the land is still in private ownership, and the Trust for Public Land has an option contract giving us the right to acquire it from a willing seller. But part of what we need is the help with the capital in order to acquire that land. So this slide, and I should tell you all, I've been doing this work in Arizona in the Southwest for over 20 years now. And I have never come across a property that has so many different resources, ecological resources, historic resources, opportunities for outdoor recreation as you have here in your community. The property here on the left, as I said before, it contains Sullivan Lake, which is both ecologically important, and we think we can lead an effort to restore it and create more cottonwoods and things out here. It's also very symbolically important is mile zero of the Verde River, which, as Jody will talk about later, many people have spent a lot of time protecting the river and the water flows in it. Of course, the Del Rio Springs are on the property, partly on the land we're working on buying, partly on the land, the acre that City of Prescott owns and the 20 acres that the town of Prescott Valley now owns. Hugely important, not only for its ecological reasons, but also because, you know, in the past, it supplied water for the City of Prescott, and also by rail, it supplied water for Ash Fork and Williams and Seligman. So it's a very important part of the history of the area and the state. You can see on this map, there's some shallow lakes, and I don't know if you all have been out and seen these, but some shallow lake features out there and some groves of cottonwood. In fact, just south of 6th Road there near the springs, there's a large cottonwood grove that has a bald eagle nest on it, which is really neat to see. The property, you can see the green line here, and that marks the old abandoned Santa Fe rail corridor, which further south in Prescott and then extending all the way up through a portion of your town is the site for the Peavine National Recreation Trail, which is one of the very few rail to trail projects in Arizona. And so by protecting this property, we will be able to bring that Peavine Trail all the way up from Watson Lake and Granite Dells and Prescott all the way up to the start of the Verde River. So we think that's a really important outdoor recreation amenity. I'll show you some pictures in a minute, but and you all have seen these probably before, but the opportunities for historical preservation and interpretation is really important, not just for the region, but for the entire state. You've seen the state highway marker there that says that this was the site for the first capital of the Arizona Territory, which is true, of course. And then a number of the Fred Harvey buildings. You can see one here on the map in a photo that were built in the 1920s to supply beef and poultry and eggs and milk and ice to all the Fred Harvey hotels that were built along the Santa Fe Railroad. Mark will talk a little bit about the potential as an added benefit for a part of this property to be an ideal site for a future regional wastewater treatment plant, and some of the benefits that would come along with that. And then Jody will talk to us a little bit about how this is part of a bigger vision to protect the Verde River flows, which of course benefits many users downstream all the way down to the Phoenix Metroplex. Just looking at the map again, I think you all know this, but nearly all of the property is within the Prescott AMA. That's that sort of blue line that runs along the northern part in here. Also want to say we are in conversations, and I feel like we'll be able to also buy this little 10-acre purple portion from Dwayne Thomas, who's owned that land since the 1991 or so. And by doing so, it'll create a continuous stretch of protected lands along the Verde River, all the way from Sullivan Lake down to Perkinsville, which we think is really pretty remarkable. And then here's just some photos. You all have seen this before. You know, here's the Del Rio Springs area. A rather remarkable photograph of Sullivan Lake. And for all of you that know the history, the building you see in the background there is one of the old duck hunting club houses that were built back in the 1930s when the dam at Sullivan Lake was built as part of the WPA program. Here's one of 3 historic Fred Harvey buildings. This is the milking barn, but then there's another structure right next to it where they bottled milk and made ice. And then the photograph in the lower right is showing the Peavine Trail as it goes through Granite Dells and Prescott, which again, we hope to be able to extend all the way up to the headwaters of the Verde River. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over, the next slide is, I'm gonna turn it over to Maggie Teideback to talk a bit more about our supporters.
Or not.
Is that the economic development side, Michael?
What's that?
I think this is still your slide. It's not on active.
Oh. Well, either of us can do this. So
Go for it.
these are all the supporters that we have letters of support from at this time. So you can see a pretty diverse group, right? From Supervisor Brown, Lynn Whitman at Yavapai County Flood Control, of course, the Forest Service. You can read the list for yourself. We just talked on Friday with Prescott College, and they want to get involved in this project as well. And importantly, Arizona State Parks, we've had a number of conversations with them, and then their director, Bob Broscheid, and Mark Weiss, their number 2, and Kevin Brock, their finance director, came out in October to look at the land and are very interested in the idea of a new state park here on this land and community. I'll add a little bit more to this since we're not really in front of the community now and we've got a little more time. A number of folks are on the group that we have monthly updates and strategy sessions of, and those include Maggie, includes Jody Norris from the Nature Conservancy, Bill Finelli from Yavapai Trails Association, Gary Beverly from Sierra Club and CWAG, and Mark Weiss from Arizona State Parks. I may be forgetting someone, but you get the idea that it's a pretty good group of folks. There you go, Maggie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to talk about the economic development, basically the impact of what a park would be like. I'm not going to read the bullet points. Basically, we are in a location that's pretty much the center of the state and the headwaters of the Verde River. We have access to the 40 coming down, Traverse going that way. So the tourism dollars that could come into Chino Valley and in the region as a whole is incredible. We don't have those fiscal impact studies done yet, but as you can see here, nationally, it's billions of dollars, and so are trails throughout Arizona. And most definitely, the town has been working on a tourism, basically trying to promote our tourism more. And, there's projects going on that would support a state park like this. And it'll bring jobs and it's going to create a lot of dollars coming into town. So there's not much more to say other than that right now, since we don't have a full study done yet, because that will cost money to do. So we have to figure out how to do that.
Before we move on, the map on the right shows how much of the Peavine Trail has been constructed and how this segment up at the north end here can get it all the way up to the Verde River. And turn it over to Jody now.
Thanks, Michael, and good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to speak as a supporter of the Del Rio Springs project and from the Nature Conservancy. And the Nature Conservancy has been working in the Verde River region for about 4 decades. Our work started with the development of the Verde River Greenway and protection of Dead Horse Ranch State Park. And more recently, we've been working with farmers to reduce their water use and improve flows to the river while also still producing food and fiber. And so the Nature Conservancy has been a really supportive of this project, and we've been working alongside Michael Patrick with Trust for Public Land because we think that the Del Rio Springs project sets up a win-win-win for the communities, the river, and the economy, and that there's never really been a more important time to invest in projects that protect our water. The Nature Conservancy's worked all along the Verde River for quite a while, and the Upper Verde River is very important for wildlife, and Del Rio Springs is one of those critical locations to protect. We also think that the project would reduce development pressure in a sensitive area for the aquifer that provides the flows in the Verde River. So we believe that the project and the park provide an opportunity for regional partnerships around water conservation and recharge, and also low water use recreation. So over the time that we've been developing this idea, the Nature Conservancy's been very involved, and we continue to support this project for the community and for Trust for Public Land.
Thanks, Jody. And this is Mark Holmes' slide.
Mayor Miller, members of the council. So this property is ideally located where all water flows by gravity to this property from within the Little and the Big Chino subbasins, making it really an ideal location for the town of Chino Valley or a regional water reclamation facility to be located upon and treat wastewater from the town of Chino Valley, such city of Prescott, town of Prescott Valley, or the county high-density unincorporated residential areas. The reclaimed water can be used to recharge the aquifer and springs by constructing recharge basins that resemble riparian areas on the lands that sustain the base flows of the Upper Verde River and mitigate the water pumped in the future to be imported from the Big Chino subbasins by the local municipalities. The town of Chino Valley has nearly completed the groundwater modeling effort that shows water recharge within these lands, and the adjacent lands can actually mitigate imported water projects that could impact the Upper Verde River and can sustain the flows of the Upper Verde River. Therefore, this land is extremely important from a water resource management standpoint, and it could provide for real solutions that sustain the Upper Verde River base flows, allow for the importation of water from the Big Chino subbasin through real mitigation projects that also provide riparian habitats and additional recreation uses upon the proposed park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. So this is the last slide in this presentation. And so there's sort of three things going on now, three buckets, if you will, of work going on. So first of all, as I said earlier, the Trust for Public Land has an option contract with the owners of the Del Rio Springs Ranch for that 980 acres. And we're on the real estate side of things, we're doing the due diligence work. We've got an environmental site assessment underway. We've got title work we're studying now, and so forth. The second task that we're working on is we've retained a landscape architect that was recommended out of Prescott. His name's Peter Burgoyce. He was recommended to me by Joe Baines at the City of Prescott Parks Department. I know they've used him in Prescott Valley before. And so what Peter is going to help us with is developing a master plan for the uses of the property. And he's currently on the first of three tasks for that master plan. The first task is gathering, historical records, photographs, maps, and things like that. It's interviewing people like Bill Pinelli at Yavapai Trail Association, Kay Loster at the Chino Valley Historic Society, Mark Holmes, and others. And we're also going to have a site visit by state parks probably next month to figure out exactly where they would envision having a day use and an overnight camping area for a state park. The second task of that master plan is really around the community input and what we'd like to do. Peter will have some different alternatives drawn up on some maps, but what we'd like to do is have a working session of town council and also invite the public from the community in to provide input to him on what they would like to see the land used for. And could be things like outdoor education spaces, farmers market, whatever it is that the community would like to see out here. And then end up with a master plan with a lot of input. And then the final thing that we're working on is project funding for acquiring the land and doing some work like building out the trail and state park and things like that. And of course, that's why we're going down to talk to the legislature on Thursday. We also have thoughts of going to WIFA and seeing if we can make a case for water conservation and for this project and asking them for some funding. We're going to try to get a congressional earmark from Congress and work with the Arizona delegation on that. And then see if there's any philanthropic sources that we can add in there to kind of finish up the overall funding needs that we have. And that's all the slides that we have for the Thursday presentation. So I think I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thank you.
See what questions you all
Any
have.
questions on the right here?
Project
Any?
maps available if anyone wants to see those up on the screen again.
Any? All right. How about questions, comments over here? Man, you must have done a good job. Nobody has anything. You sure? None whatsoever.
I kind of do.
Okay, kind of go ahead.
Okay, I kind of have a question, and I'm not sure who to direct this to. Possibly Jody. In regards to the cottonwood trees, it's on my understanding that they consume quite a bit of water every day. Is there any effort built into this to mitigate the overgrowth of the cottonwood trees along this project in the Verde River?
I would say yes, the cottonwood trees do use some portion of the water, but they're also important habitat for some animals that are, wildlife that's living on that property. So I think that at this time, overall, the amount of water used for the cottonwood trees in comparison to what we're kind of looking more at as the water use for residential development isn't as comparable. That's my best answer. I don't know if Michael, you have any other comments to provide on that perspective?
Well, we do want to get some expertise on repairing restoration, and that could be a question that we ask them. There could be two ways to do that. First, we had Michael Bird from Prescott Creeks. He just went out on Sunday to look at the property. It was his first time to kind of see it in depth. And so we hope that he might become a consultant for that kind of work. Also, the president of Prescott College was pretty excited about this opportunity, and she's going to gather some faculty there to have coffee and talk about this to see if there are faculty members that would be interested in providing their expertise on that. So that's not a direct answer to your question, I know, but it's a good question to ask for sure.
Thank you.
Would it be possible in the near future to arrange a field trip for the council? Maybe invite Kay along and
Of course.
get them out there? Because a lot of people in this town never been on that ranch, even though
Okay.
they've been here for a long time. And it might be beneficial for them to see it up close, to see what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So let me work with Cindy Blackmore on some dates that would work well for you all to do that. That's a great idea.
Okay. Is that it? That's it
You know,
over
honestly,
here?
we're not about not developing the land, and it's perhaps why we didn't try to acquire the whole property. We do know that the landowner will probably sell that land on the west side of the highway for housing, which is great. We just think the east side over there has so many unique resources that you can't find anywhere else, that we think it's a great project for us to be helping you all with.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thanks for your time.
Okay, if that's it, I guess we'll be adjourned until 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Good place for a deer lease.
Hmm? But there's bald eagles that come and nest in those trees every year. Oh, on the Verde. You see, you didn't clarify that. On the Verde?
Oh,
I
I
didn't
don't think
miss
they
that
heard
part.
that. I don't think that registered.
I didn't hear it either. Everybody talked about, when you said that, everybody brain automatically went to the Del Rio Springs where those eagles nest. You know a cow drinks about 50 gallons of water a day? What they say.
Your monitor's not working? You weren't seeing
Recording
How do you know? You count their sips?
We'll get that fixed.
Why don't you fix the line?
Sarah,
Put a cap on it. You're done. Huh? No? So it was a boot. I didn't ask you to look, see what time it was. All right. Good evening. Would you please rise and join the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can you please have roll call?
Yes, you may. Councilmember Shacker.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Councilmember Phillips.
Here.
Councilmember McCafferty.
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here?
Vice Mayor Miller. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Granillo. I put you both together.
Bonus. I like it.
Automatic demotion.
Vice Mayor Granillo.
Here.
Thanks. Mayor Miller.
I'm not sure, but I think I am.
And our town attorney is present remotely.
All right, introduction, presentations, proclamations. We have a presentation by the Chino Valley Historical Society.
Thanks, Mayor Miller, council members. My name is Jeff Crandall. I'm a volunteer with the Chino Valley Historical Society. We started about 20 years ago, and we've been active in this area for 20 years. And our mission is to preserve the history here and to educate the public. We have about 70 dues-paying members right now, so we're proud of that. Our headquarters is at the Cooper Ag Center, which is at Center Street and 89 Highway. And we have a use agreement. That property belongs to the school district. We have a use agreement with the school district, and there's several historical buildings there. There's a former dairy barn, there's a shop, there's a dairy processing facility, and the house there. And those are all historic buildings. And our charge is to take care of those, administrate them, improve them, maintain them, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're doing. And we've been doing that at the Ag Center since 2008. Up until this time, all the work that we've done, all the maintenance and improvements that we've done has been done with volunteer labor and with salvaged materials and donations. And so I would point out that John McCafferty has been a volunteer with us. He's been giving us, really helped us paint the place, made it look a lot better. And Mayor Miller has been out to tour our facilities and offered his help as well. So we're grateful for both of those. So we've done a lot of work there, cleaned, maintained, made sure it wasn't an eyesore there, mowed the lawn, all that kind of stuff that we've done. But we're kind of to a place now where we're looking at making some more improvements. And we've identified about $40,000 worth of improvements. And we think that that'll be funded through donations, through grants, through dues, that kind of thing. And we've been made aware that the city has certain discretionary funds there. And we would ask to be considered when you think about those discretionary funds. Now, $40,000 is a lot of money, right? We think that if we had a grant of $3,000, that we would be able to improve the safety of the facilities there, that we would be able to improve the maintenance and also improve some of the public spaces there. And even if we only had a grant of $2,000, we think that we could improve the safety and the maintenance there at the facility. So either one of those we think would allow us to open the barn to the public, at least on a limited basis, sometime this year. And we think that'd be great for the community to see what we've got there, the artifacts, the information, the photographs, all the documents that we have. So, so I would like for the council to know that we've been supported by business entities in Chino Valley, you know, especially Chino Rentals and Ace Hardware have both donated to us supplies, and that's been great for us. But we would also You guys are active in the community, obviously. We would also solicit any donations, any businesses that you're involved with, any volunteering that can happen. We would also solicit that as well. So that's my presentation, and I'm available to answer questions either now or later on, if there are any.
You can stay right there for just a second. Any
Sure.
questions over here?
No.
Questions, comments over here?
Nope.
All right.
No
Thank
que-
you. I'm
No
sorry.
questions, but John has talked to me in great detail about what you guys are doing over there. So
Thank you.
thank you.
You're doing a good work over there. I was impressed.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Council.
3, call to the public.
Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is at the discretion of the council and not required by law. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Yielding of time will not be permitted. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. This includes loud outbursts, profanity, and disruptive discussions among our audience. I do have a couple filed cards. First is Susie Jarvis with the Chino Valley Pickleball.
Good evening and
Good
happy
evening.
Valentine's Day to everybody, Mayor, Council. I came here about a month ago. I'm back. But this time I'm not here just to tell you how fast this sport is growing, because we know it's really growing fast. I'm not just saying here it's just for the elderly. It's for everybody. All ages are playing this sport. I'm not going to remind you that we are busting at the seams over here in Chino Valley. But I am here tonight to ask for you to put the Chino Valley pickleball courts on the budget for this year. I know they have been on the budget. I know it has been a discussion. The sport is growing. This is not going to only help our club, of course, but it'll also help the whole city. This is a place where people can come with their families to play, that they can come out and use those courts. These will be public courts, of course. But these are going to give us the opportunity to also run tournaments, which will bring people into this town. A lot of us go over to Prescott. I know we don't want to say that out loud, but we go to Prescott because there's great tournaments over there. There's round robins. We can't do that on these courts. One of the reasons we can't do it, there's a safety factor. If you have taken the time to drive out to the courts where they are, and again, thank you for giving us what we have there, they're very bad shape. The cracks are getting bigger and bigger, and I know they've been filled in a couple times, but the cracks are getting wider and wider. And of course, that always is a problem for people tripping because we're out there playing on those courts. The fact that we put these courts in will bring potential revenue in, because guess what? People will come and stay here to play. A lot of players, when I go over to Prescott, say, yes, I live in Chino, but I'm not going to play on those courts. They're just too dangerous. And unfortunately, they might be, yes. So that will also help keep people here in this town, going to the, playing pickleball, going to breakfast afterwards, going to lunch afterwards, keeping the people right here in the town. One of our members, and by the way, I have a lot of members here tonight. Yes. One of our members met a young boy over at Prescott, and I wanted to tell you about that. He learned how to play pickleball in juvie, and he is excited about learning and going on and learning to play. We have young kids coming out to our courts all the time. And the other day we had 11 people, and there was a young boy out there. We had to convert him from tennis to pickleball, and he played with us. He did it willingly. So I am asking and I am pleading to please put this on the budget for this year. I know a couple councilmen I have talked to, and I want to thank you for coming out. Thank you for spending the time out there. And I'm actually looking around and seeing what we have. And you guys, again, I invite you all to come out and play pickleball with us. It's a great sport, great for our health, great for everything. Thank you again for your time. And again, happy Valentine's Day to all of you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Rachel Furnell.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I know you guys know who I am, but for the people behind me who don't know who I am, I'm Rachel Furno. I'm a realtor here locally with Realty Executives Arizona Territory. At the last meeting, I kind of noticed a void of knowledge that was being spread. There was a developer who came before you who made claims about the median house pricing in Chino, to which I felt inclined to stand up and correct his claims. So I thought I would take it upon myself at the first meeting of every month to give you guys a market update. So handed out a flyer for you based on January's sales, so you guys can kind of see year over year what the median sales price was. So 14 homes closing in January in Chino Valley alone, with a median sales price of $364,500, which is a far cry from the $800,000 that was claimed a few weeks ago. So I think you'll also notice in there that we are trending similar to where we were a year ago. The biggest differences are how long houses are sitting on the market. Specifically to January and December climate. I mean, that has a lot to do with the holidays. That had to do with the Fed increasing rates. A lot of people were priced out of the market. Just this last week, the median list price of houses was $584,450. So the houses that are coming on the market are far exceeding the sales price that was in January. However, what's currently on our market in Chino is 59 homes. And I think a fun fact is 24 of those homes are all listed under 400,000. So we are seeing pricing come down a little bit. There's a lot of reductions that are happening, and all of this, I think, you know, is my industry, you guys. I mean, we're all trying to bring people into our community who are not going to be house poor. And additionally, the people who are in our community right now who are renting, trying to save for a home, trying to help them attain that dream is very important to me, not only as a community advocate, but as a real estate agent. So I just thought that that would be useful information so that when you guys have people come before you, you know, when they're throwing out facts and numbers, you guys actually have the proof there. And as always, if there are any questions from council about the market or anything like that, I know there's not currently a real estate agent on council or commission, so I'm always happy to provide that information for you guys. So thank you for your time. Just wanted to spread some love. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was all the submitted cards that I have, Mayor.
Okay. Current events and summaries. Status report by mayor and council regarding current events. I don't think I have anything. Oh, yes, I do. I'm sorry. I have one thing. I have relinquished my position on the Upper Verde water users, watershed users. We had an issue when I guess I talked too much, or surprisingly. But we got it wrong, so I put Eric as the primary and John as a secondary on that, and then I stepped off of it, give myself a little more time. Okay, that's all I got. You got anything over here? No, sir.
I have something.
We'll talk.
Happy Arizona Statehood Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 111 years.
Wow.
All right, that's all I got.
Okay.
That's it.
Tom?
I
Nope.
like that, Annie.
Nope.
That's good.
All right. Then how about our town manager, Mrs. Blackmore?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Just a couple things. As a reminder for everyone, Monday, town offices will be closed
Again?
in observance of President's Day.
Oh, my.
So we will reopen at normal time on Tuesday. And I am very pleased to announce that our own town clerk, Erin, has earned her certified municipal clerk designation. So,
Great job, Aaron. Now she's gonna want more
so
money.
did she earn this from the International Institute for Municipal Clerks? This program is designed to enhance the performance of municipal clerks. It prepares the applicants to meet the challenges of the complex role of the clerk. And we all know it really is. There's a lot of work that goes into keeping us all straight. To earn this designation, she had to attend extensive education program as well as have the necessary experience. Erin tells me that it normally takes about 3 years to complete the program, and she did it in 2. So she worked really, really hard. And I am so very proud of her and proud to work beside her. This benefits her professionally, and it increases the professionalism of the staff in our town. So please join me in congratulating her on this significant achievement.
Good job.
Congratulations, Aaron. All right, consent agenda. Blah, blah, sorry. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Anything on this side want removed? How about over here?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, action items. Consideration possible action to approve the financial report for the 6-month period ending December 31st, 2022. Joe, that's more than 3 slides, buddy.
Yes, sir, it is. But I'll try to be quick this evening.
Okay.
So, you know, one thing when I do get up here and give financial reports, I usually just start rattling off numbers, and I never really summarize. So I'm going to summarize before I get into the numbers. Overall, the town of Chino Valley's financial position is getting better over the last 6 months than we were projecting when we did our budget. Our revenues are up. Generally, there's a few areas that they're not, but most our major revenues are up, and our expenses are way under what we budgeted. So our departments are doing a really good job keeping the expenses down, which means as we roll into this next budget season, which is just a few weeks away for everybody, I know you're excited, I can tell, we're going to be able to have a lot more money to do things like roads and other priorities that you guys set. So we're actually, overall, we're doing pretty well. There's a couple areas of concern, and I'm going to address 1 or 2 of them with you this evening on that. So, okay, that'll work. There we go. The general fund, which is our major fund, all of our revenues are up about 22% over last year. Tax revenues are the biggest source of that, and they're up about 17% over last year. Retail sales are up, construction sales are up 21%, but our bed tax is down just a little bit. So we've noticed that the last quarter I presented, it was down also. So it's just for some reason this last fiscal year, or this last 6 months, we're just not having as many people stay, I guess. Intergovernmental revenues are up, and that's primarily due to the increased state share revenues that we received from the state last year. And interest earnings are up. The one good thing about higher interest rates is we make more money on our money. So for us, that's a positive. Expenditures are up 24% over last year, and that's primarily to us transferring the budgeted transfer of $3,100,000 from the general fund over to the roads capital improvement fund to do additional road work for the community. And the departments right now should be at 50% halfway through their fiscal year. Overall, most of the departments are at 40%. So that's where I'm seeing the savings in the majority of the departments this year, at least in the general fund. HERF revenues are up as budgeted. We do hit the state projects what our HERF revenues are going to be, and they did increase the projection by about 10%, and that's holding true. Our maintenance expenses are down about 45%, and that's really because we have some equipment on order that we haven't received yet, but it's coming. We've ordered it. Should be here anytime. And less of transfers, the department is about 31% of their budget, so they're holding their expenses down really well too. The Water Enterprise Fund revenues are down from 453 to 432, so not a lot. Customer water sales are up. However, our water buy-in fees are down over 60%. And I have a slide to talk about water and sewer buy-in fees. And total expenditures are just about even or up slightly. The Sewer Enterprise Fund revenues are up 3%, but there again, our buy-in fees are down 31%. We're seeing our service fees are up 2%, so we're having more customers pay in, but we're not collecting the buy-in fees for new customers like we were last year. And the operating expenses are down slightly by about 14%. So I wanted to just run this by. I do these little comparisons once in a while. And what I'm seeing is that there's a little bit of a slowing in new construction or new people hooking onto our water and sewer. So I said, well, is there any correlation between that and building permits? And so actually building permits are up year over year. We're up about 20,000, but our plan check fees are down. So that's the plans for new construction. I have a feeling a lot of this building permit activity is commercial because we're seeing some commercial properties being built here. But I believe residential construction, we are seeing a slowdown in it. And that directly impacts our water and sewer buy-in fees. So this is a little bit of a red flag, but not a major red flag at this point, but it's something that we just need to watch, and we need to watch carefully as we go into next budget year. But I did want to share that with you, that when construction slows down, it does affect some of our revenues, especially in our water and our sewer. Overall, all of our other major revenues, and these revenues account for over 40% of the revenues that we bring in. So these are the ones we always watch, and we watch every year. And you can see the red bar is up on every one of them, which is still a very positive thing. And the retail sales tax, that's where we're seeing that big 17% increase across the board. So that's a very good positive for the town. Capital improvements, just want a quick little update on some of the projects we're working on. The police department, we budgeted $4.7 million to finish up the project. It's about a $9 million project. We spent about $2,191,000. And right now, we're only projecting we're going to have about $1.5 million more in expenses. So we're going to have some savings there, which means we will have exhausted the loan funds, but we won't have to put as much of the town funds into the project. We're being very cautious there because I know there's going to be some expenses as we move in, the department moves in, that we didn't even think about. So we know we're going to have a little bit more there. But we have all the furniture, all the equipment, we have POs for everything, quotes, we're done. We know it's all ordered and coming, so we're pretty close to being done there. So good. And of course, the general plan will spend the $300,000. We spent $94,000 so far. Perkinsville Water and Sewer, that's the engineering cost. And the Peavine water line, that's under construction right now. And then, of course, the roads, we had $381,000 from last year carry over in July. And we have essentially about $2.1 million budgeted to finish up before now in June of road work. And I believe Frank's out to bid on that. We completed the backup generators for a little bit more for the 2 wells in the water. We had little engineering for the EQ basin, which we put that project on hold. And then they also completed the screw press that they were planning to do this year. And I think that's it, unless you guys have any questions.
How about questions on this side?
Good.
How much do you think is the conservative estimate of savings on the PD building? On the PD building? Just to share the love.
Okay, so we had budgeted about a $9 million project. I think it's going to be about we projected originally it's going to be about $9 million. We're going to be just under $9 million total.
Under, you said?
Just under, yeah. So we're right pretty much where we planned on. We did budget extra funds just in case, because when we were budgeting for this this time last year with the supply chain issues, we did throw an extra chunk in there, but it doesn't look like we're going to have to spend it. So.
How about over here?
Water enterprise. Our revenues didn't go up, but we're not adding new users. Is that because we don't have enough sewer lines?
Okay, so the water system.
Not the water, the sewer side.
The sewer system. Yeah, so most of the growth in our sewer enterprise connections growth was in our subdivisions. So Highlands Ranch is pretty well built out. Bright Star is pretty well built out. So until another major sewer line comes on board, we're not going to see the rapid growth that we've seen in the last few years.
So that lost revenue, let's just assume for the sake of discussion, hypothetical, we have no future development with sewers. Is that going to jeopardize our long-term enterprise fund in that area?
So right now, we've been using these sewer buy-in fees to actually replace capital equipment at the sewer plant.
Right.
We're pretty close to getting most of that done. If we had no more growth right now, our plant, we wouldn't need to expand, and we would be able to service the customers that we have.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we know that we're going to have growth as we extend sewer lines. So, and we're planning for that. We're projecting for that.
And the last question is, has the screw press actually resulted in savings for waste?
I can't tell you that yet. It's
Too early?
It
Still
hasn't
too
been.
early?
It's too early. It hasn't been in
Okay.
operation.
I would be interested in knowing what we're saving because of the water. We're actually decreasing the weight.
The weight of the.
And in long
yes.
term, because I think that's a great idea. I'm wanting to know what the savings are.
Yeah, I'll be able to track that because we do track it monthly.
Because I think it'll pay for that screw press in a short amount of time. I hope.
Over time, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it was definitely a smart thing to do. Definitely was.
That's all I have. Thank you. Good report, by the way.
Thank you.
Sherry, you got anything? You didn't. All right, thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Do we need a motion on that to accept that report? Okay, we'll do it anyway. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve action item A, consideration and possible action to approve the financial report for the 6-month period ending December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6B, consideration possible action to appoint applicants to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Building Advisory Board per recommendations of the Appointment Subcommittee.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. The Council Appointment Subcommittee met on January 18th to review applications and make recommendations for the Planning and Zoning Commission and the newly created Building Advisory Board. Staff received 9 applications to fill 5 expiring terms for Planning and Zoning and 6 applications to fill 5 vacant seats on the Building Advisory Board. Based on the review of all the applications by the subcommittee, they recommend the following appointments. For Planning and Zoning, the 3-year regular terms, recommending Charles Merritt, Gary Pasiak, William Welker, and Richard Zamudio. And then for the Planning and Zoning alternate 1-year term, recommending Rachel Furnow. And for Building Advisory Board, Charles Demeter, Charles Merritt, Ken Mon, Sterling Skipper, and Eric Furketch, I think is how you're going to say it.
Good name.
And with that, if you guys have any questions, maybe for me, or Mayor Miller is the chair at that meeting, he was, so he can answer some other questions if you have.
Any questions down there, Bob?
I got a couple. I was looking at the applicants, and 2 of them didn't fill out any of the questionnaire. They just had their name and said that they were applying for the planning and zoning again.
It could have been that they were reapplying, possibly. We did have, I think, 5 individuals reapply for planning and zoning seats. And so those applications are much more condensed because years prior they had filled out a full application. That could be, unless you can tell me exactly who it was, that's my best guess is why.
World of paperwork. The Gary Pelziak, he didn't answer any questions.
Correct. He was a reapplying commissioner.
Okay, so the reapplying ones don't have to answer any of the questions.
It's only, I think on that application, it asks if they have any new experience or new information they want to pose to the appointment subcommittee, but if they don't, then they usually leave it blank.
Okay.
That it?
Got my answer.
Okay. Over here?
Nope.
Okay.
I would have a request, though, of the chair of the committee, just for the future. I'm not in any opposition to any of the recommendations here. However, I was just a little bit floored when I got just that information. It's like, okay, vote on that. And I was like, well, you're just asking me to vote on the spelling of the names. What I was expecting, and I didn't know any better because this is the first go-around, is if in the future we just have a basic summary. Hey, the committee selected these following people because whatever it is. You know, Charles Merritt, he's been on there for 11 years. He's the chair of the P&Z. He's good. Okay, great. Just a summary of what it is, other than me being forced to base my entire decision on the spelling of the name. Because I was floored. I had no idea that that's all I was going to know until this time. So that's my only request, is just maybe just tell us the rationale behind your decision. I support the decisions, and I completely am supportive of how the process works, but I got to know something other than just spelling of their names.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking.
All right. Sherry, you got anything? You were good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I think in the future, maybe we should include the old application, the originals, so the rest of council will have that information.
I can double check. There is retention on them, but I will double check for those
Okay.
for future. Absolutely.
All right.
And then before we go on to voting, I did want to let you know that we do have a comment card that has been filed on this item if you would like to hear from the public.
Is anybody-
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you're ready for that now? For Rachel for now?
Sure.
Back again. Okay, so coming before you guys, obviously, as Aaron just summarized, I've been put forward as the alternate for Planning and Zoning Commission. I reached out to each one of you individually at the end of last week with an email with my concerns, asking to be considered for a full seated position. And I'm not saying that anyone that's on that board is doing a bad job. But quite frankly, I know what I have to offer, and I know what I have to offer for my community. And I think most of you sitting up there have seen great examples of that over the last year. To tell you a little bit about myself, particularly over the last month, I have been taken away from our community because of a sensitive family situation. I've been home for 5 days over the last 3 weeks, and 2 of those days were to be here for meetings. Excuse me. This town is very important to me. And I have a legacy that I was born here. I'm a 3rd generation in this community. And frankly, there are people on that commission that are not going to work as hard. They are not going to do the research. They are not going to put forth the effort to question applicants and to have healthy, communicative, progressive conversations with their fellow commissioners. If you would consider me for a full seat, I will promise you that I will make each one of you proud in that serving position. I know that my reputation for being passionate precedes me. But frankly, I think we need more of it. I think we need more of it, and I think we need a more thorough representation from our governing boards of what this community really is. And this community is young families, and this community is multi-generations who have decided to not only live here after they've grown up here, but to raise their children here, to advocate for the growth and the responsibility of land use. And I know that serving on that commission is only going to build my knowledge so that I can continue to represent the town and the community in whatever facets are in my future. And I just would ask you to reconsider that. I know that it's within your power. Additionally, I would be happy to take the alternate position, but I do have concerns about what limitations that it puts on me. And what those may be pertaining to my role as a community advocate. I'm not interested in the alternate position if I'm not still able to be me, I'm not still able to get up here and speak freely. And I'm just not sure in that position if there are any limitations on that as far as me just being an active member of the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In response to Rachel's statement, I'll just advise the council that the Appointments Committee makes recommendations, and that's a recommendation that was made from the committee, and the council has the privy to change that if they wish. The reason why there was 4 empty spots, one asked to be moved off into the alternate position, but and then 3 were people on the commission that applied for reappointment, and I don't doubt Rachel's qualifications or commitment to it, but we already had a person that was on the alternate spot that had done their time, and the committee decided that to give him what he had earned, to give him this seat. So with that discussion,
If she were the alternate, can she still come up and voice her opinion like she asked?
I couldn't answer that. Do you know?
Mayor, council, I think our town attorney can speak to that.
Boy, I forgot he's here.
He's sleeping.
That's okay, Mayor. That's my whole goal, is to make you forget I'm here. The question is, I believe that as an alternate to P and Z, would anyone in that role be prohibited from speaking publicly at council meetings on various planning issues as they come up? And so long as the person did not participate on the commission in the alternate, like filling a vacancy, they don't surrender any of those rights. So they can still come to the council meetings and make comments. The only reason that we don't typically allow for seated members to come is because we have open meeting concerns with respect to a message being sent to potentially a quorum of the board, as well as, once the board has made its decision, it's the decision of the group as a whole. So barring participation at the lower level, she's still perfectly fine to come and speak at council.
I have a follow-up question, Andrew. If she were a 3-year seated, would she be able to come to call to the public and address the council as she wishes?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember, the reason why we discourage that from the seated members is because the open meeting law, as you all recall from the training that we've had, you can have a violation from a one-way communication, a unilateral communication from one member to a quorum. And so because P&Z could be in a quorum receiving the unilateral communication from one member, that person could have a potential for an open meeting violation. So we always encourage the current members to stand behind the recommendation of the body as a whole and not to make individual comments because of the potential concerns for the open meeting violation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Were you done, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go
No,
right
that's
in
fine.
there.
You got anything?
I mean, I think I was the only one that agreed with bringing Rachel on, but I mean, I don't agree with everything she says, which is good. I don't agree with your statistic report here. I don't think we need one every 2 weeks, but she does have passion, and she does have, she has raised family here in Chino, and I appreciate that because I have as well. And she has a lot to bring to the table, but that's my take on it.
Bob? I'm Bob. What's your name?
Yeah, that's
I'm
me.
Bob.
Tom?
I have
Tom.
no doubt that Rachel would do a good job on planning and zoning or any other commission or committee that she happened to apply for. But in this case, I have to respect the recommendation from the appointment subcommittee.
Your turn.
I agree. The three people who are returning, Chuck, Pasiak, and was it Welker? Is that the other name? Welker. I was on planning and zoning with them for 3 years, and they're all solid people, so I don't see any reason why we would not allow them to return to do the function they've been doing for a good number of years. Likewise, Mr. Zamudo, did I say that correctly?
Close.
He's been doing a great job as an alternate. He shows up to every meeting, and whenever there's a seat empty, he's there. And as you say, he's paid his term or his dues. So it's a natural path to going in that direction. I agree. It's a natural path. So I have no reservations about the way that your committee made it.
Okay, thank you. Sherry, got any? Okay, we'll entertain a motion. Who's going to make a motion?
You want to rock, paper, scissors?
Right.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve, yeah, how do I make this motion? I make a motion, we approve the appointments to Planning and Zoning Commission and Building Advisory Board per recommendation of the appointment subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One.
Bob.
Do you want
Okay, that's it. Sherry, you're up.
You want to share why?
You got to do it in the microphone. Adjourn.
That's the little black thing in front of you.
I was giving him an opportunity.
Make a motion
explain.
to adjourn.
Second.
Okay,
We're adjourned. Thank you all.
thank
What
you.
did you say?
Well, I was giving him a second to explain. Usually with the nose, you can, you know.
We do?
He hasn't.
Ask him to explain why.
Well,
What do you want? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Okay, thank you.